of Decline. Very special episode today because we are embracing a small format change. Steven, who is been with us for the first 60-odd episodes, has had a baby recently. And because the very sensible thing to do is to prioritize your baby over your podcast, he is doing that. And we all wish him the best. We all wish him the best. What a fucking asshole. Fucking abandoning his adult child for his and the voice you hear is a guest we have for today in Steven's stead. We have writer, filmmaker, podcaster, Peyton Brock. Is Brock your real last name?
Yeah, it is.
All right. Do you mind being identified? We can boop this out if you
No, you can identify me. I'm online.
You do post your real name online.
I'm logged on.
You are braver. You are much braver than me.
I'm jacked in and jacked off.
And I am just jacked up. But on the show, I am Alex. And yeah, I choose that relative bit of anonymity. I don't know why. For some reason, I feel like my takes are too spicy and it might get me in trouble at work. But not real. My takes aren't spicy.
Well, I get it. But I my problem is I've been cursed with being online since it's like elementary school.
Since elementary. Wow. That is like sort of the big difference between you and I. So another piece of information is that Peyton is 10 years younger than me to the day.
Yes.
And so, although, it's like we had the same set of references, we're watching the same YouTubes, we're reading the same Twitters. So, we're in the same generation, but in many ways we're not as well.
Yeah.
Because you said elementary school there. You've been online. You've had accounts on YouTube and social media since elementary school.
Yeah, my original YouTube account, not the one that I still have videos, but my very first one that I posted videos publicly on, I think I started in 4th or 5th grade.
That's crazy to me because
those are all private videos now, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's
literally 100 plus. Well, not hundreds, but over 100 from 5th grade through maybe like very early high school. And then I kind of stopped
with your friends, or because I've seen some of your later work, which is very you got to the point where your editing was very sophisticated and was very professional video SAE. You could so it got to that point, but you stopped doing it because the YouTube's it's a lot of effort for
Yeah, well, thank you. The early stuff though, yeah, it was a lot of recorded straight off of the family computer webcam. me talking about Legos as well. But I also did narrative stuff too, where it was just weird little plot lines and stuff with my action figures and stuffed animals and stuff like that.
That's a classic thing to do. You make a little movie on your family computer.
Yeah,
you got creative juices, but you got nowhere else to flow them. You don't have. I guess the dream is to be like a John Waters type and cultivate a collective of weirdos, and have your very own Dreamlanders. I never found my very own Dreamlanders.
Some of the videos had friends, but a lot of them, just being a kid, I wasn't. It's not like I had just the access to friends as much as I wish I did. So a lot of it was just me on my own doing what I could on my own.
Well, yeah, especially like-minded friends who are into we're film production people. The friends you probably met were just local people in the neighborhood, who you had more of a geographic relationship with than anything.
Yeah.
At least that was my history doing YouTube. So I think about it like Jake Paul and all of and these TikTok houses. They're the modern Dreamlanders. They're the modern John Waters. They're making our freak magic.
Yeah, I guess so.
This is the worst take imaginable.
That's sad.
This is my very bad take.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I wasn't on social media until age 15. and that was fucking MySpace. That's that is the biggest point of how old I am, is that I was on MySpace briefly, but I never got a taste for MySpace. It was really Facebook that started my journey on social media. And I remember when it first came out in 2005, we were like, what's this? It's like MySpace, but classy.
Yeah, I got a Facebook page around that same time as the YouTube page as well.
And like, I guess you'd have no point of comparison. Do you remember what your brain was like before you were terminally online, like when you were 8 years old?
I mean, vaguely, yeah. I remember the first thing I discovered, I remember my first experience with YouTube. At least my first memorable experience with YouTube was going on YouTube and realizing, oh wow, this is just a place where you can look up and watch videos. This was like 2009 or 8 maybe.
Yeah, still relatively into YouTube's infancy.
Yeah, and it was me looking up and watching all of Gendy Tartakovsky's Star Wars Clone Wars series. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The 2D
stylized, the 5 minute. Yeah,
the 2D animated like Star Wars shorts. Someone had like uploaded the entire, which is like, like 2 hours. And it was like finding that online and being like, wow, you can just watch stuff for free on here. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And where was it there? Did you what creators would you follow when you're 10 years old? Like, were you into who are your first introduction into YouTube creators?
Yeah, I was into a lot of the Lego stop motion stuff. There was this guy called Forest Fire something or other, like 101, and he made like Lego Batman stop motion videos, which were like legitimate. I mean, like they must have taken a lot of effort, because they were like, like 10-minute long, like stop motion videos, which is like, a lot of work. But yeah, it was like those, and it was like, they were really like very crass and juvenile humor, like Batman calling Robin gay a bunch and stuff.
Well, we're laughing. We're still laughing at it.
So those, and there were like all another genre of stuff I watched a lot was like, and it's like, it's definitely, I don't know if still is, but like was a genre of like Mario plush narrative videos, where people would take like their like Mario like plushes and figurines and stuff and make like these narrative storylines. And as well as, I remember this channel that I used to watch as a kid, where they did this like live action Mario Brothers like series, where it was like super involved. Like it had like seasons and I'm serious. They had like a movie, and like, it was like, they had all of these Mario Brothers characters, as well as like Snake from Metal Gear, and like Ness and Donkey Kong and Wario. And they had like a movie that was like a full like feature length movie. But at that point on YouTube, it was like in parts, because like the time limit on, you could only upload like 10-minute or less videos. So yeah, it was like crazy involved, like lore based Mario stuff. So yeah, a lot of like weirdly theatrical, like, but still childish things.
Because there's that thread of that all throughout the beginning of YouTube, because I remember when that shit first came out in 2005, and like the biggest thing in the world was Smosh.
Yeah, I watched Smosh a lot too, up until like middle school.
Yeah, I mean, nothing fine with the beautiful emo boys that made broad nerd humor videos.
Yeah.
Everybody, to my mind, they didn't get canned with anything. They're not problematic, are they?
No, they're like still, Smosh is still like a channel, but like the one guy left, and it's still like Ian, the other guy, but now they also have like kind of like a repertoire of like players who like do skits, and they have like a side like gameplay channel and stuff. It's like, it's very different from how it used to be. It's very like I don't know, it's a whole different thing, but like it's still Smosh technically.
Yeah, well, that's a thing that happened. That's a funny thing as YouTube evolved, and you see this with so many content creators, where, because YouTube, the thing which gives it its sense of what makes it different than cable television or prestige television is that sense of authenticity. These people are creating something. There's a one-to-one relationship between the viewer and the creator. And so conversely, once something gets too large and they start making money, they alienate the audience because they're alienated from that authenticity. And you see it time and again with like Smosh, as we're talking about. It went from them making charming videos in their bedroom to having this militia of nerds. And Rooster Teeth, it happened to Rooster Teeth. As Rooster Teeth got bigger and more unwieldy, it lost that sense of authenticity. You can see it with any of the big bread tubers too, who sort of get too big for their britches and then end up getting a lot of backlash.
A funny case with all this that I think it's kind of like it's kind of contrary to this, because it was never small. It started out as like a corporatized like official business, but like I feel like through it really taught me a lot of like my values I have now of like, man, the bosses at businesses and corporations suck because they're just like fucking over the actual people doing the work. Mm-hmm. But it was the channel that I literally watched from its like first day of inception, the very first day to its very last day was SourceFed. I don't know if you ever.
I think it sounds familiar, but walk me through SourceFed.
So it was like a culture, like comedy / news type thing, where it started out where they would post like multiple videos every day, like short, like 5-minute videos on like current event topics with like multiple hosts. And it was just like them set against a white backdrop, like kind of doing like jokes and riffs on like on current events. And over time it evolved, and they still would do like 1 or 2 of those videos a day. And then they had like extra things like podcasts, and they branched off and had like a specifically like nerd-based channel where they would focus on like pop culture news and a bunch of stuff like that. It was actually like it spun off from another embarrassing thing I watched as a young person, which was the awful. Now I feel so ashamed, but the like annoying dude bro centrist who was and is Philip DeFranco.
Oh, Philip DeFranco. Yeah, he was the guy that pioneered having incredibly creepy ring light eyes.
Yeah, and he had his like quote unquote news show that was like 50% him going like, oh, this is let me read the events of this thing that happened that I'm totally just stealing from like some other news source's article and just retelling, and then going, and what do you think? Because I like a conversation. I don't like to take side. He was like the ultimate centrist of like, I like to hear both sides. And then like also being like, here's a picture of a hot girl and a kitten and a dog hugging. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, very Reddit shit.
Yeah.
Extremely like proto Reddit shit.
But yeah, exactly. But SourceFed was like technically like Google, this was like 2012. Google was like had some initiative to like start new YouTube channels, and SourceFed was technically like his brainchild. He started it, but fairly towards the beginning, like only like a year or two in, he sold it to Discovery, like Discovery TV's like internet division, but then Discovery sold it. And so like over the course of SourceFed, these hosts would like legitimately be like putting in hard work, like people I really still enjoy, like I don't know if you know Joe Beretta. He had his own channel called Barats and Beretta.
Oh, I do know that guy. He does
comedy sketches.
Yeah.
He was on.
I went on Space Mountain 17 times. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, they're fun.
He was on SourceFed as like a host and writer for the videos. A guy named Steve Zaragoza, who I really like, Elliot Morgan, a bunch of people. And over time, like the roster changed as people came and went. But like they were just constantly like beleaguered with like, you have to get this many videos out a day, and them being told like, we're not getting enough views, you have to completely switch it up, and it changing business hands until ultimately kind of like out of the blue it was bought by some new corporation. It changed hands again, and they were just like completely fired kind of out of the blue, and we're like, yeah, we're shutting you down, you have a week. Like
they got Deadspin or cracked.
Yeah, so it really instilled that kind of like, wow, these creative people are so, they're working really hard and they're really funny and creative, but they're like management and like the oversight on them, they're real assholes who are fucking them over. So that kind of instilled, that was a YouTube event that instilled some values in me.
You got class consciousness as a result, some class consciousness. Wait, these nerd workers are producing all the source material, and then they're being profited off of by these fat cats, these VC fat cats, private equity jerks. Because that's the same. It was always like, were you into Cracked.com when it started being like a prestige humor magazine on the internet?
No, that was either, but I don't know. I'm not super familiar with it.
That would have been around 2006, so you would have been too young.
Yeah, that was too before my time. But I was aware that it was like a thing.
Yeah,
and I knew of it.
And it employed like a lot of very talented comedy writers. And then sometime around, I forget when it was, 2017 or 2018, same thing happened. Some private equity people came in, realized that, the thing that generates the most money for the site is the clickbait articles, which we can pay, pennies on the dollar for, compared to like the people that actually generate the really good video content. Those are actually, we crunch the numbers, and those don't generate as much ad revenue per the writer's salaries. So we can shit can these people and still come out ahead. And so, I mean, that was one decision. It was even weirder with like, do you remember what happened to Deadspin?
No, not. I know it's like, it wasn't that like a movie website or something.
It was a sports website. It was the hip sports website. It was the fun hip sports website where they would talk about things other than sports, but they were tangentially related to sports.
Kind of like a what's the one now? SB Nation or whatever. It's kind of like the no, what is it? It's the one that John Boyce and other people work at. It's kind of like the hip, like offbeat sports thing.
If that's the one, if the only connection I have to that is watching Felix Biederman's MMA documentary.
So I think it's like through that and some other. Yeah, I think it's SB Nation then. Yeah, I think they do a lot of that kind of stuff. So that's what Deadspin was. It was sort of like, but the appeal of the website, it was just amazing, because the appeal with the website is the fact that they didn't write about sports, so they wrote about social issues surrounding sports. That's what people subscribed to the website or clicked on the website in order to get. And then when private equity came in, they were like, stick to sports, and they ruined it. They just had it tanked because they just fundamentally didn't understand what was good about the thing that they had acquired, because they were taking a very non-holistic attitude. Like there was this thing that Frank Zappa once said. Frank Zappa, polarizing figure, had many weird political takes, sort of a libertarian crank, but he always had this insight, which I always thought was pretty interesting, talking about the difference between how music got produced in the 60s and the 80s. And he said in the 60s, what music executives were a bunch of old cigar chomping guys who were like, look, I don't know what kids like, so we're just gonna invest in a lot of stuff and see what sticks. That was basically the idea, is like, we're gonna have a wide variety of stuff that we invest in, just so because we don't know what's going to be the future. There could be anything could happen, and something unexpected could get popular. In the 80s, it switched to MBAs, guys with business degrees who were like, and who were also, children of the 60s, and who were who were yuppies that had been the children of hippies. Patrick Bateman.
Yeah, types. Patrick Bateman types. It's precisely Patrick Bateman types who are like, I know what the kids like. And we can focus group music in order to create something which is market tested to be the most profitable thing imaginable. So it became less about investing in a variety of stuff and more about investing in a monoculture in order to generate the most profit off of single events. And you see this with movies too. You see this with the stratification of the box office, how Marvel reigns supreme. And then, there's a bunch of A24 movies. Whereas, in the 70s, there was a bunch of like mid-budget movies dominated the top box office. And I don't know if that's lamentable. I don't think it's necessarily lamentable. It's just like a different It's just a different mode that culture operates in now.
Mm-hmm.
But it is certainly more difficult for artists to make a living so than it was in the 60s. Maybe
Well,
it wasn't.
I don't know. I mean, we do have like Patreon and stuff now, but who knows if that's actually, better or what, or just the appearance of freedom. I don't know.
Yeah, I wish
I ain't making much money right now.
No, I mean, I am making, after like 10 years in eternity, after graduating from college when I was 21, it took me until age 28 to make a living wage. So, and that was after I had gone to law school after that as well in order to make it as a lawyer. And then I had a nervous breakdown and couldn't be a lawyer. And now I have, but because of the stupid lawyer credentials, I was able to get an admin job that actually pays a living wage, which was amazing to me because I had gone my entire adult life without one. This and I live in Toronto, so half my rent is still going, half my paycheck is still going to rent.
Yeah.
But just the fact that I can live in like 500 square feet in a city is a fucking miracle to me. And sometimes I think, maybe this shouldn't feel like a fucking miracle to me. And from what I hear from stuff on the ground from people your age, it's even worse. It's much worse than it was when I was getting out of college.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I definitely think it is. And I probably, if I really wanted, I mean, I feel like if I kept trying, let me first say the last, up until about a month ago, I was like just looking for like part-time, minimum wage type work. I was specifically looking for like anything but your typical like, fast food customer service. But, in that I looked at like, working in the stocking department at a hardware store, still very like, I wasn't like expecting to get super, or I was looking at like at a local university, I entered their like temp pool to be like, an office assistant, all that kind of stuff. And I heard like multiple, like 3 or 4 months of just like nothing, getting rejected. I applied for a local library that needed I talked about this on my podcast at one point. I applied for a local library that wanted a part-time like circulation clerk for the desk. And they were like, well, we saw that, you just graduated college and do you think you're going to be here, over a year? And I said, well, I'm not sure. I'll probably be here for at least 6 months, if not more though. And they said, oh, actually we're wanting someone who can dedicate, commit to at least a year or more. And this was for a like minimum wage job that they wanted to do like 26 hours a week. And they wanted someone to commit for over a year of their life to be able to do this. It's like insane.
And that's how bad the job market is, that's not an unreasonable request for them. Someone can fulfill that role.
I guess not. And like, I feel like if I kept at it, I probably could, I think at least fairly quickly, not in the next year or two, find a sustainable like livable wage job, but it would be something completely outside of what I actually want to try to do, and it would have to be here. Like I'm currently like in South Carolina in the upstate, and like I bet I could find some sort of local thing where I'm using my dramatic writing degree instead of writing fiction or nonfiction. It would be like some completely mindless thing, like
grant writing or something,
or some sort of advertising or marketing. It would be something that I would hate. And
go to Myrtle Beach and work for Jackson and Jackson longboard advertising.
And then it's not like it's amazing, but I'm sure I could get a decently place with a decent rent here. And and I could probably do okay, but I'm shooting myself in the foot because at the moment I'm planning on making the jump to LA, hopefully at the beginning of this coming year, and continuing to try to seek my fortune and getting a foot in the door with an internship or whatever assistant position in the entertainment industry, since I want to write since I'm demented enough to want to write for film and TV.
That's exactly what I did, except I moved to New York. Which I did through law school. My story was a little different. The primary reason why I went to law school in New York was just to keep my visa, because could get hired with my music degree. So you went
from music degree to law school?
Yeah, I went from music degree to law school.
Huh.
But for me, for law school, what it is for a lot of people that are there is, I'm a humanities major that can't get a job. Please allow me to be in the womb of academia for another 3 years. And if you can afford it, it's good for that to some degree.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's why I didn't continue law school in America, because I lost my scholarship after doing very poorly.
I'm someone who actually really likes school and academia, and
I love school.
I function very well within a regimented school environment where I have tasks that I have to meet and expectations under guidance. So I would probably love grad school, to do writing or film grad school, but I just don't have the money, and I don't think it would be worth it to go into even further debt.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, if you're gonna go into further debt, you want the guaranteed job, which to some degree,
I wouldn't have.
Yeah, law school will get you that. People.
Oh yeah.
People are. You can get decent high level admin jobs with just a law degree, although it's sort of overkill for that. I don't know, being a lawyer, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. I deluded myself into thinking that I was a lawyer. But at the end of the day, I hate conflict too much. It's really weird to be a lawyer that hates conflict,
Fair. Yeah.
Don't yell at me. That's what I would be saying to the other side. My defense is, you're being very rude to me.
Stop being so mean.
Stop being mean. You're being mean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sure.
He's using the meanness defense. There's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
The best fucking lawyer we've ever seen.
Yeah. My hopefully my golden goose that I'm hoping and trying to bank on with getting into the entertainment industry is the most cynical ploy that I get self-conscious about, because a lot of times I get self-conscious and worry that people think that I'm identifying as this only so that I can try to get this benefit. But I'm hoping I'm banking on my fact that I identify as a trans woman I'm really going after those diversity internships.
Do it.
And but I would be lying if I didn't say I'm in constant paranoia that people in my life and people that I know think that I came out and identify as trans only for the minority status benefit of it, which is not the truth.
You're trans just for the jokes,
I am I trust me, all of the internal turmoil and anguish that I feel within my mind and fear that I feel in public of worrying of whether or not I can walk into this place without being hate crimed. I would 100% just prefer to be cis, despite its disadvantage.
Yeah, it's not worth it. It's not. No one.
Listen, Hollywood is still. I mean, it's not that much of an advantage.
Yeah. You don't. I mean, that was always that's always the weirdest turf line is oh, this is just another example of male privilege. No, you give up all of that. It's totally gone. And you're off even worse than a cis woman. It's but
last night
that's your shot at happiness.
I was going over to my friend Austin, as featured on my podcast, Explaining with Austin, my co-host. I was going over to hang out with him and some other people at his house. And on the way, I was going to stop and get some form of alcohol beverage, except both convenience stores that I pulled into the parking lot on the way to his house, I saw like, you know, the types of cars with the types of stickers on them outside, and looked through the window and thought, there's like a 50% chance I would die if I walked in there dressed as I am like a woman. So I'm gonna just not get alcohol and just go to Austin's.
Yeah.
Because convenience stores are one of the worst places, because it's like it's so small, you don't have like the space and kind of like privacy of a grocery store where you can kind of keep to yourself. It's so like small and contained. It's like it's like a caged match.
Yeah, you got to consider that. It's just stuff that people take for granted in regular life. I mean, is it specific to the area you're in? Do you think you'd feel more comfortable if you, like, say you were in a city with, like, in a queer village in a city?
I mean, you know, I feel cynical thinking this sometimes, but I mean, I would be lying if I didn't say there's some truth to, like, yeah, I probably would feel more comfortable if I was in like a super like lib city or a super lib area of a lib city.
Hence
you know,
LA,
like,
you know.
LA or New York or whatever, or Austin or, you know, whatever. I mean, there is some truth to that, you know. Once you get under that veneer, it's still as exploitative and terrible as everywhere else, but there's something to be said for its like baseline kind of like their favorite word, like civility.
I mean, there's just more of it there, so people often are they're less reactive to it because they've experienced it before.
Yeah, and you don't see as many you know, guys with you know, lifted trucks with Blue Lives Matters and like Punisher skull, you know, stickers on their truck, on their lifted truck window, and, you know, with a shaved head, and you're wondering, are they going bald or are they a Nazi?
What's funny is these guys are everywhere. These guys are in Ontario too. You go 2 hours outside of Toronto and you find these guys. You find guys in Ontario with Confederate flags on their cars.
Really?
Bitch, you're in Canada, but people will still have. I mean, because they love the Duke boys. I think.
Okay, well,
I think usually that's the explanation.
I'm from the seat of secession itself, South Carolina. So I see plenty of Confederate. Here it's bare, like, up until like a couple years ago, I remember where there was the whole thing specifically about the South Carolina State House, because we, like, the State House here had the Confederate flag like flying at it still and until like a couple years ago, when it was like a big thing and it got removed. But like up until then, like, it was just like a completely, like, it was not even like it was like an innocuous thing almost, the Confederate flag. I mean, it still is to some degree. You still see it everywhere.
Absolutely. I mean, look at Leonard Skinner, right? Beloved voice of the South. You know, if you investigated Ronnie Van Zant, I'm sure you'd find he wasn't like an overtly racist type of dude, but they were very responsible for being like, the Confederate flag is nothing more than a symbol of Southern good times. Yeah, it's not a symbol of slavery. You know, because people don't want to contend with the fact that other people might feel differently.
Yeah, I mean, at my high school, I mean, like, just super, you know, normal, not even an issue to have guys wearing like shirts with like Confederate flags on them, or, you know, a part of the design. Just a normal thing, like, you know, not even an issue.
Have you heard the greatest song of all time, Brad Paisley's Accidental Racist?
Is that the one where he had, I can't remember who it is, but it's like Flo Rida or someone.
LL Cool J.
And he's like, if you don't diss my gold chains, then I ain't diss your Confederate flag or something like that.
I'll forgive the iron chains if you forgive the gold chains or something.
Yeah. What the hell?
I mean, LL Cool J votes Republican, but it's like, it's an amazing song because it starts off with, well, when I walked in that Starbucks down on Main, I didn't mean to offend you. I'm just a Skinner fan. You know, that's a line. It's like, I'm just a Skinner fan. I don't know what this flag means to other people.
I would also have, there were also guys at my high school who would come to school dressed in like full, like they just got back from hunting that like early morning, like full camo, like hunting, like fatigues basically. Like they were out in the bush that morning, out in the woods, hunting some deer.
Well, I don't. That part of the culture seems okay.
No, I mean, it's fine with me. It's just the fact that, like, that's just to give some. Well, it's really weird where I grew up because I'm in the town, or right now I'm right next to it. But I grew up, like, basically it's in the town of one of South Carolina's, like, top, like, main universities, public universities, one of the two. So it's like very, like, the town itself, you know, a lot of college students, a lot of whom are from out of state, a lot of, you know,
pretty
very
lib
and, like, academic, like, type professor, you know, family people.
Coffee
but then
shops,
literally no record stores, unfortunately, but plenty of coffee shops. It's still a very small town, but it's like a university small town. But then literally like 10 minutes outside and you're like in like rural, like small town that only has like a Dollar General and a gas station, you know, type places. So my high school was a weird dichotomy of, you know, oh, the bottom 50% of my class's average was a B. That's how competitive my class was at high school, because like literally like it's like the most competitive, you know, student base. But at the same time,
professors and stuff.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but also, you know, we, you know, are in like rural South Carolina, and, you know, like I said, you know, guys would come straight to school from their hunting trips.
Mm-hmm. Well, so that is when people say that the Confederate flag is cultural, obviously not defending it. I don't think it should be displayed publicly anywhere, or, you know, kept on any sort of government, anything. But when you talk about that sort of innocent misunderstanding of, I didn't know it was racist. You know, I thought it just meant, you know, good times at the beach, you know, I thought it was. I do think those people actually believe that. I don't think so. It's like, and so when you assign the malice to them, the malice to their ignorance, I don't know where I'm going with this really. Well, but it's something uncomfortable you have to deal with. That sometimes people do bad things, but it really is they are doing it for innocent reasons.
I'll say that the people like from my school that you know, I would know who would wear that kind of thing, they wouldn't be they're aware that like some people you know, that there's a group of people who find it like racist, but they don't believe that, or either like that or they don't care, and like it's like the triggering the libs. The more that they're told that it's racist, the more they want to wear it. Yeah, like it's that type of person where it's a little more malicious, where it's almost, you know, it's that like, you know, fuck you, I'm gonna do what I want type of thing. That's the same reason why, like, you know, there were tons of people in my high school, you know, who were super into Trump and you know, all into that election with wanting to vote for him, because they simply liked him because, you know, oh, he's epic and he's triggering
a savage.
He's triggering all these people. Oh, he's such a troll.
That's a very teenage mentality, and that's what I was like when I was a teenager, because I was on original 4chan too, which was because 4chan didn't used to be a Nazi website.
It was like anime and shit.
Yeah, right? It was anime, and the only political position it had was Scientology was bad, and that's what
and atheism cool.
And you know, it was doing like racist pranks at Habbo Hotel, but in that very early internet, you know. Just to like offend people. Yeah, this isn't indicative of a larger structural racism. But it turns out if you keep making ironic racist jokes long enough, the real racists come and they overwhelm everything, and, you know, it ruins it. So, but there was a good 4 years where it was relatively innocuous. But yeah, that was the goal too, you know, just to shock and to offend and to be like, subject yourself to the worst things imaginable, because it proved it's sort of like Fight Club, you know, you're not experiencing real emotion through physical pain, but rather by cringing at Tub Girl or something like that.
My high school, like my high school, like attitude and beliefs were pretty weird, because I feel like there was a brief moment in like the 2016 election, specifically like the primaries, where I was like pretty, to use cringy, you know, like modern lingo, I was pretty based for a minute there, where I was
you got a little based.
where I was like, oh, Bernie's cool, and I was like making fun of Hillary. I even drew I remember specifically, I was in my German class in high school because I took German, and I was in my class, and I drew like this stupid comic where it was like, like politician manufacturing center or something, and it was like Ted Cruz and Hillary Clinton both being like manufactured by like a reptile man.
Yeah.
And I showed it to my friend, and she was like, how dare you, shouldn't say that about Hillary Clinton. That's being misogynist. She's to compare her to Ted Cruz is awful. And I think from that moment kind of onward, I developed kind of terminal like lib brain for like the rest of the like 2016 election, where like, I was like, oh, if you don't support Hillary, you're a racist, and I was like, super upset. I was like super upset when Hillary lost, and I was like, oh, she should have won, she would have been great. And it wasn't until like once that was like senior year of high school, and then like kind of once I started college, I really started going down the Marxist path, and then started yeah.
Once you got to college, the goddamn postmodern neo-Marxist got you.
I am a fucking poster child for like the corrupting influence of like the liberal college Marxists, because like I went into college and I came out, I went from being just kind of your like milquetoast lib to coming out of college like full on like, Marxist communist trans woman.
Yeah, well, it's just like those cartoons that Ben Garrison makes now.
yeah, I would be a perfect target, the feminized, feminized sissy communist. I got soy boyed. Soy got me.
They kept serving soy in the cafeteria.
Listen, if it really did make you feminine, I would be eating that shit like,
oh my god,
crazy. But unfortunately,
going up all next to the 5G towers,
Yeah, I was just praying when I got my vaccine that it would force feminize me. I would love to get to be, look even more, feminine without any sort of surgery or hormones.
I can't imagine how disappointing it must be to be like a trans QAnon person and to be like constantly going up to 5G.
Yeah.
It won't work. It won't work. Yeah. I wonder if how many trans QAnon people do you think there are? There must be at least a couple.
Well, what I've seen in terms of like the political makeup of trans people is there's like 3 types. So you're either like me, you're like full on like hardcore, communist or anarchist. You're kind of like, sort of like lib soak, like, democratic socialist type, you have some political, radical leanings, but you're still very much like, entrenched in the system, and you're going to defend,
Yeah, you like movies too much to support violent revolution.
and then there's your third type of trans person, which is like they have like anime profile picture, they're like full on like Nazi like trad wife aspiring, like they might be they would be your QAnon trans. It's weird because it's like this dichotomy where there's no real like kind of like centrist or like like just kind of like baseline lib trans people. It's like slight radical leanings, extreme radical left leanings, or extreme radical right leanings.
Yeah. Well, there's one, and it's Charlotte Clymer. But in order to be that, you have to kill 70 people.
Yeah, right.
She's
a special case.
She's an interesting figure.
She's like the dark Chelsea Clinton. Not Chelsea Clinton. What's her name?
Chelsea Manning. Yeah.
Chelsea Manning. Yeah. Oh God, I can't believe I called her Chelsea Clinton. I'm so sorry. Yeah, she's like the dark Chelsea Manning. Charlotte Clymer.
No, Chelsea, no. I'm sorry. Chelsea.
It's like for every Chelsea Manning, there's like Charlotte Clymer.
Oh no, it's hard to think. Did you ever hear about Reality Winner?
No, I don't think so.
Reality Winner, a weird name. Yeah, it's like Yahoo.
Is that a person? Is that a person? Oh, I thought it was like a game show.
She was a whistleblower in the vein of Chelsea Manning, but and she was imprisoned for it. And I think she was associated with The Intercept a lot as well. The issue is she also has 600 confirmed kills as a carpet bomber. So that is a little problematic. But what can you do? Yeah, right. It seems.
No. You froze.
You're back. I froze, but I was just talking about Reality Winner.
You froze as soon as you started talking about it, so I heard nothing.
All you need to know,
I heard The Intercept, and that was it.
Associated with The Intercept, she also has 600 confirmed kills as a carpet bomber. So it's like,
whoa.
I'm not saying you should imprison people for leaking information, but sometimes, or imprison people in general. But 600's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
A lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it's sort of weird to become that centrist queer person. You know, I'm trying to think of like the gay equivalents to that, who are like, I guess Pete Buttigieg is the
obviously, yeah.
The ultimate gay centrist, you know, volunteers to go into the army, you know, works for McKinsey and fixes bread prices in Canada.
Right.
Nothing particularly outwardly gay about him.
Yeah.
I mean, he delegates that to Chasen.
Yeah. Yeah. Chasten. This is the most like white, like dude name ever. Like it's just like a made up amalgam of multiple different names. Like you have like you know, Chase, and you have like Kristen for some reason, and you have like you know, Chasten.
Austin,
it's like,
and Aston.
Yeah, Austin and Aston. It's just it's just like an amalgam. Yeah. It's like a homunculus of white man names.
Yeah, you know that meme where it's the board of like the incredibly white lady choosing names like McKinley or like Lakin,
yeah,
or Cupberta or something like that.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, it's weird that there's lots of jokes about black people naming their kids weird when white people names are just as fucking weird, and in a lot of cases even weirder. So
from being from the South, I don't know if this is just like a Southern thing. I think it might be. The big thing the last like 20 years and continuing to now has been and continues to be, it's the person like naming your child and they go by first and middle name. So it's like your Casey Grace or you know,
Casey Grace.
Yeah, it's that kind of shit. Okay. It's like, and you have the monogram, you have the big monogram, you know, on the back of your, you know, whatever, your car window, and you know, it's like it's your very like Southern living magazine kind of.
Look, it was a plantation, but it's still nice. It's still beautiful. Okay?
Yeah, it's wedding at the plantation.
But that's a thing. They love doing that.
No, it is. There's like literally next town over, there's like a preserved like historical like plantation that you can like rent out for stuff.
We're having a gender reveal party at the plantation.
I actually went there. I was in a local community theater production of, and in like middle school, I was in a local community theater production of Tom Sawyer, and we shot like, I guess like a little like promo thing to like air on like public like local TV, and like we went and shot it there where it was like just like the cast like kind of like fucking around outside there, and it's like, come see Tom Sawyer at the local theater.
Here's my friend. His name is ... Jim. His name is Jim.
I played just in case you're curious, I played Tom Sawyer's little shithead narc brother, who's like the annoying like know-it-all brother to Tom Sawyer, the goody boy.
Yeah, there you go.
The goody treat boy.
My roles in I'm trying to remember my roles in theater, in youth theater. They're just various supporting characters in West Side Story or something.
Did you paint your face red to be Puerto Rican?
No, I wasn't cast as one. Although, yeah, that is weird. I mean, I'm trying to remember who were playing the Puerto Ricans.
Come here. Woo. Hey, mommy.
Yeah, an overzealous theater director, like doing heavy accent coaching on West Side Story.
Yeah.
No, you're going to want to hear it like this. I'm sorry.
I come to America to make my dream come true, mommy.
Mr. Whitmer, why are you talking like that? You don't understand. You don't talk like you gotta talk like you gotta leave
the director is in character, even though he's just the director.
Yeah.
He's doing a character for no reason.
Mash my energy, okay?
Yeah.
You have to mash my
Yeah.
Yeah. All of the Hispanic kids are getting incredibly offended. Yeah.
As if there would be he only cast white kids.
Yeah. All of the
there were ample
rejected.
amount of Latino kids who auditioned, but he only cast white kids.
Yeah, because they just felt the role better. They just got it. They got the sharks more. Yeah, they wanted.
Oh my god.
I'm sure that has happened. I'm sure.
Oh, definitely.
That's a great joke. And have you ever seen the sitcom Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23?
No, that's the one with like Kristen Ritter and Eric Andre, right?
Yeah, Kristen Ritter, Eric Andre, James Vanderbeek,
right.
Dreama Walker, and it is shockingly good. It's a shockingly good sitcom. But there's an amazing joke in it where James Vanderbeek reveals that he was in an all-white version of Raisin in the Sun. The first time I heard that,
that's funny. Yeah, that's good.
Dry heaving laughing. It is extremely funny to me.
That's funny.
Underrated sitcom. Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23. Very, very workmanlike, but like a lot of very good jokes per minute ratio. Very good successful jokes per minute ratio.
That's good.
You've been
check it out.
You've been seeing any movies, seeing any shows lately?
Well, I saw The Green Knight on Friday.
Ooh,
and I enjoyed
I've
that.
heard good things.
I put this on like Letterboxd and Twitter, but I really enjoyed it. But I said, if you're not familiar, I feel bad for those not familiar with David Lowery's movies, because going in expecting like an action adventure, with like sword fights and stuff, when what they get, very apropos to Lowery's style, is like 2 hours of like slow, ethereal, contemplative Arthurian vibes.
Yeah. Very like lots of gray vistas of England looking.
It's beautiful as hell. It's great. Yeah. But it's really great. I really enjoyed it. But it's very much not like that. There's not even a single sword fight. And,
no. But Dev Patel's just incredibly hot.
Oh, dude, in the movie's just about like, this dude is so fucking hot. And he's such a fuckboy. It keeps fucking over his life. That's literally what Sir Gawain's like story is about. So I saw that and I enjoyed it. In terms of shows, I've been watching through all of Seinfeld. I'm on season 8 right now. I love Seinfeld.
So does it date as much because I tried to watch it again recently. And I guess it doesn't date as poorly as other stuff from that era, like Friends and
well, I can say that I've seen of Friends, I've never particularly enjoyed. I've always find it kind of obnoxious, and like I like Seinfeld because like all of the characters are so like explicitly pieces of shit.
Yeah.
That's why while Friends is like it almost like it thinks the show itself thinks they're good people.
Yeah, that's a problem.
But I mean, there's certainly dated aspects of Seinfeld, but like its core like sensibility is very modern still.
Yeah.
It's very like It's Always Sunny is kind of like the modern progenitor to Seinfeld. But so that I've been watching Star Trek: The Next Generation through.
TNG. So you're in full 90s. This is like the era
I guess
I was a child. I was seeing these shows as they came out, which is interesting.
I'm on season 4 of TNG right now, and I just finished the episode. You've watched Star Trek?
I've watched pretty much all of it. I can recall some of like the bigger episodes.
I just watched this I love how like it kind of is like 50-50 on each episode of whether they remember the Prime Directive exists or not. Like the one I just watched, some ship crashes, or like they find a ship with a distress call, and it's some like alien race that the show hasn't encountered before, but it's like a well-known one. But like and it's all like teenagers on the ship, but among them there's like one human child who like is like he says he's like part of them and he's like one of them and everything, and he doesn't identify as human basically. And you find out that like as a child his colony was attacked by that race, and he was basically taken from infancy and raised and like, you know, treated as one of those, and his dad is like the commander of the ship that comes to rendezvous and take the kids back. But like Picard's like, no, we're not giving him to you. He's a human. He's part of the Federation. He's not yours. And it's like up until the very end is Picard finally like, actually we've realized that maybe what is most important is what he wants, which is to return to you, his father.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, no shit. Like, why would you want to take him? Like, that's his whole life. Just because he's like human species, you want to like fucking, what are you gonna make Worf like go back to the Klingons?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing with the show is like, so there's an inherent contradiction with Star Trek: The Next Generation, which is they're in this like utopian post-scarcity future.
Right.
So logically, there should really be no moral conflict. And like there should be like they should have like all of these precepts worked out. But you know,
Sure.
there's like 70 corrupt admirals throughout the show.
And then you have all of these like secondary race, you know, not secondary, but like tertiary, you know, side, you know, societies of aliens that are like not part of the Federation, who don't follow the, you know, egalitarian rules and all that.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, that's often a debate is like, is Star Trek, like the prime directive is a way for them to get out of colonialism, but because they break it every other episode, it's like, oh, this is just space colonialism.
Yeah. I mean, I still enjoy it though. I just find that, you know, kind of logic funny a little sometimes. Yeah. And then to round out my 90s watching I've been doing recently, I've been watching through Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, hell yeah, wonderful.
So I'm almost through with that. I have like the last two of like the series, and then I'll watch the movie. So with that, I can finally concede that, okay, there are two good animes, because I used to be of mind
that an anime fan.
I used to be of the mind that there's only one good anime and that it's Evangelion. But now Cowboy Bebop. I'm mostly being facetious because I've actually been watching this other anime that's it's the most endearing, wholesome thing in the world that makes me incredibly happy to watch. It's a anime based off the Sanrio character who like they do like Hello Kitty and all that. It's Onigai My Melody.
My Melody.
It's about My Melody, who's like the little like you'd probably right. She's like the bunny, and she has like the pink hat. That's
I know that bunny. Yeah.
So I've been watching that anime, and it's very charming and cute while also having some solid like jokes and stuff. It's very wholesome and nice, and it makes me feel like I'm connected with my femininity.
Sanrio has been knocking it out of the park. Like, because Agretsuko was very popular, and that's when.
Oh yeah, I've never watched it, but I remember it being that's the one on Netflix with like the fox or whatever.
Yeah, she's the fox who's permanently downwardly mobile working girl in Japan, who sings death metal at night at karaoke.
I'll have to watch that. That sounds good. Honestly,
it's very much like Sanrio is trying to have like a mascot for the millennial Zoomer experience of just being shat on at work constantly.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's a downer though, I'm sure, compared to what you're watching. That's
My Melody is very like upbeat, happy.
Yeah, I don't know what is defined as an anime either. Is Avatar: The Last Airbender an anime? It's an anime, damn it.
I've never considered it an anime because it's like from American creators who are white. I feel like it's kind of iffy to call something made by two white men an anime.
Okay, so if there was like a white guy born in Japan and he was totally raised in Japan and he happened to become an anime director,
I'd consider that an anime. But point me to that example, please.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of other good. We had a whole anime episode. I don't know if I could get you into Hunter x Hunter based on what you said so far, like the shonen stuff, you know, like the Dragon Ball Z charging up boys.
I've never really been into that, or like Naruto or any of that. I'm kind of snobby and that I've only really like been attracted to like the two animes that like snobs are like, oh, it's so much more than other anime, that type of shit.
I mean, it is true to an extent because I mean, especially with Naruto and Bleach and Hunter x Hunter, it is very formulaic, and that's part of it. The part of why people like it so much is because of the formula. Every shonen anime is, to some degree, your character gets stronger. Your main character, who's some sort of doofy, low intelligence but high willpower protagonist like Goku or Naruto or Monkey D. Luffy, they keep ascending through the power of friendship until they defeat the final big guy at the end.
Sure. I guess I was thinking I think because I've enjoyed Cowboy Bebop so much, I want to watch, I don't know the creator's name off the top of my head, but I want to watch his other stuff. Like I know he did Samurai Champloo or whatever.
Yeah, that shit's great.
Then he has a more recent one. So I want to watch those. And then they're adding all of the Evangelion rebuilds, which I've never watched, including the newest one. Those go up on like Amazon fairly soon. So I'm probably going to watch those as well.
Ava's good.
Because I've only watched the original series and the end of Evangelion.
Yeah. Those are all, I mean, they're great. Wait, so I guess because you already had like a taste for film or an eye for like abstraction before you came in, like a lot of the end of Evangelion is very polarizing for a lot of people. The final two episodes.
No, I mean it's definitely like polarizing, but both the end of the TV show and end of Evangelion, because they're both kind of abstract in their own ways.
I think they're both utterly brilliant.
No, they're great. Yeah, they're great, but they're definitely, they're not straightforward in terms of like a narrative. But I mean, yeah, I guess, I've watched enough film with kind of, experimental or, abstract elements that I felt like I was able to enjoy it, even if I afterwards I kind of read through some different essays and interpretations of it and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. It's a very Freudian anime. Extreme. Yeah. I think like if there's any one philosophy that informs like Evangelion, Freud, for sure, and
Jung, I'd say too.
Yeah.
The whole unconscious iceberg shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like the whole, like Hideki Anno, like the backstory. He was in psychoanalysis at the time, and he was I really get this. I appreciate that whole aspect of the show, the whole depression aspect, because I really relate to that. Oh yeah, me too. So did and everyone that watches anime. If you're watching anime, you're probably depressed.
Yeah, or were in the past. Yeah.
No, that's not true. Well, I don't know. There is that extremely escapist element to anime, more so than other cartoons, where it's like someone pointed out once that American cartoon design is all about making your characters look as horrible and ugly as possible. Like, look at Big Mouth. Just awful looking.
Yeah, grotesque.
With anime, it's about making the most picturesque, well-appointed, innocent, nubile, submissive and breedable type person out there.
Sure.
And so I think those relative forms of escape, or how something conveys fantasy, maybe there's something to that. Or the fact that, something like My Little Pony is popular because the imagery it presents is sort of soft. It's not harsh. It doesn't subject you to like what's an example of like an animation that like MTV's The Head, or like you don't watch that for comfort.
I don't even know what that is.
It's great. So MTV used to do a lot of great animation.
I know they did, like, obviously like Beavis and Butthead, and they did Daria, right?
They did do Daria.
And Clone High was MTV, right?
It was MTV, which they're bringing back.
Yeah.
Although it's very funny. Speaking of Clone High, one of the Clone High guys, I think it was Chris. It was either Phil Lord or Chris Miller, but one of them was very Gusano. Said some Gusano.
Yeah, shit. I remember seeing that. But that was like a while. Was that recently, or wasn't that a couple years ago?
It was both recently and a while ago.
Oh, so I saw the a while ago one, and I guess I didn't see the recent one.
He said something recently which made people dig it up at the past. It's like, so the Lego Movie guy, it turns out, is a bit of like an American propagandist against Cuba.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, what you get. It's not like It's not like a career ruiner. It's not like a Grand
No.
Millennium thing or something.
No,
like that.
definitely not. I mean, in turn, I mean, I'm not taken to every, it's an American falling to American imperial propaganda is not the most surprising thing, or demeaning thing, but it's not great either.
Yeah. Well, what do you do when people you like have bad takes?
That's a good, that's the ultimate struggle, and I struggle with that in film. I struggle with I sometimes I feel like hypocritical or like I'm being stupid, because I'll go on record as saying I've never watched a single either Woody Allen nor Roman Polanski movie.
That's fair. I mean, Woody Allen, you're not missing out. You're not missing out. Roman Polanski.
I've definitely, as a big horror fan and as like a big genre fan, I've definitely, wished a lot of times, been tempted to watch, Chinatown or Rosemary's Baby. But my problem is, and people are constantly, I say this and I'm constantly get pushback, which I understand and appreciate. First off, I want to say this is just a me thing. Like, I'm not casting judgment on someone who does. It's completely fine. But my issue is like, I hear that, all these other people worked on it and you're dismissing their work, which is fair. But at the same time, I have an issue with watching something when the main driving creative force and worldview and themes that piece imbues and like inhabits is like created by someone who raped a child. Like, I feel like I don't want to imbibe in their perspective.
Yeah. I also think it's like, the fact that you're supposed to take them seriously as movies, you're supposed to take them seriously as real art, because for some reason, like, I'll catch myself like humming R. Kelly's Ignition to myself, and it won't cross my mind as like, oh, this is a song by a very bad person, because there's no like emotional heft or weight to just humming Ignition. There's no like, I haven't ascribed any part of my soul to this. Whereas, you see like a really good movie in like a really good condition. Like you see Chinatown, which is an utterly brilliant movie made by a rapist. And let's say you really connect with it. You got to go, oh no, how do I reconcile this stuff? But
before we move on, with Chinatown, I don't know if you've heard it. There was an episode of my podcast where I did a bit with Austin where I talked about, because I haven't seen Chinatown, and I'm aware of like the general, like, I know it's a noir and it has to do with like Orange County or something, and there's weird rape stuff in it itself, which is weird. But I in my head I like to just imagine that Chinatown is just like 2 hours of Jack Nicholson doing like a really racist, offensive, like Chinese accent, or and in that it's like I like to do like a fake scenario in my head, like Jack Nicholson shows up on set the first day and he's like, hey Roman, I am ready to perform. I've got my accent all figured out. And Roman Polanski's like, what are you talking about? It's like, you want me to do like a Chinese accent, and I brought these big goofy glasses and buck teeth and a rice farmer hat. and it's like, no, what are you talking about? I didn't read the script, I just assumed.
You said it was Chinatown. Are you telling me there's no Chinese people in this set?
I thought I was going to be doing like a Mickey Rooney Breakfast at Tiffany's thing.
You're telling me I watched all those Bruce Lee movies for nothing?
Yeah, my Jack Nicholson impression is, do the scariest like voice you can while trying to sound as friendly as you can.
Right.
Hey, how's it going there?
Gotta smile like that. You act like me. That's a lie. That's a freaking lie.
Yeah. Sorry to enter. Oh my God, are you okay?
Yeah,
you dying?
I ruined my shit trying to talk like Jack.
Sorry to interrupt you with my. No, I haven't.
It's funny. It's a
intentionally or unintentionally because of Sorkin.
Well, I don't know. Sorkin can crack an occasional joke. It's funny when Sorkin cracks a joke that actually makes you laugh, which he's capable of doing. Because he is kind of a talented writer. You rag a lot on Sorkin, but he is able to create bon mots that a lot of fucking people that consider themselves witty respond to, which requires some measure of talent, I guess.
One of my favorite things in college in my dramatic writing program was one of my professors equally, like not for like the like political reasons that I do, but just on like a pure writing level, thought he hated he hates Sorkin and thinks Sorkin like accurately is like a self-obsessed hack, and we would constantly team up on this other student that we, you know, it was just like fun riffing. We weren't actually like fucking with him, but like he's like a really like into Sorkin guy, and he like loves The West Wing, and I think he was like into like Pod Save America and stuff, and he was like really into Sorkin, and me and this professor would just constantly like fuck with him about like how bad Sorkin was.
Has he not seen the "We Got Him" Osama bin Laden scene from the newsroom?
Oh my god, the airplane. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to tell you that we just killed Osama bin Laden. And everyone stands up and claps.
My favorite fun fact about the killing of Osama bin Laden is that
he didn't actually get killed. It's a conspiracy.
That is true, but also that sales of the song "Party in the USA" went up when it happened.
Oh God.
I love it when a whole country comes together to celebrate the wanton murder of of a guy who we all hate.
A guy who was ridiculously tall and should have been hooping by all accounts. But yeah, that's boy, Sorkin
opportunity.
Yeah.
What have I saw? You know what I saw recently? We see it has just opened back up in Toronto, and I used this opportunity to see Jungle Cruise.
Oh man. I saw a guy online. I saw a funny review from someone I like who said, "Jungle Cruise, not even worth the 5-minute wait." And then he responded, "I'm not talking about the ride." I'll start by saying I really love the ride at Disney World. Like problematic element. Like, I mean, they just changed it, but there were like a couple moments where it was like, oh, you know, there's like a tribal guy with a spear, and like, you know, there's some iffy kind of like 1950s stylized, you know, Africans. But like the majority of Jungle Cruise, are you aware of like what the ride is?
Is it anything like the plot of the movie where there are haunted conquistadors? Or
no, it's not at all.
Okay.
Jungle Cruise, as I don't know if it was originally this. I can't remember. I've watched a lot of those like Disney ride history stuff, but I can't remember about Jungle Cruise. But when I went, and for the most of like the last 30-40 years, Jungle Cruise is a ride that's like it's almost like a parody of like a theme park ride, where basically you're going through on this boat on like a canal, and you're seeing all these little dioramas with like animatronic animals, and the whole thing is your skipper on the boat is telling like really corny, shitty like jokes of like,
they have that in the movie. That's the element.
Well, like at one point he's like, and next up we're passing a temple, and you know the name of this temple? It's the Shirley Temple. And it's like really intentionally just like awful like puns and shit, which I love, because it's almost like this commentary on like theme park rides, where it's like when you went through Pirates of the Caribbean, the person controlling the ride was just constantly like sarcastically like talking about how shitty it is. And like the whole thing at Disney and is like the person controlling the ride, they can like do their own kind of like riffs and stuff, right. Sometimes they can get away with saying stuff that's a little risque if like there's no kids on the ride, and so it's like this really kind of funny, goofy, like tongue-in-cheek thing. But I'm assuming the movie's a lot more like
that's in the movie. That's funny you mentioned that. There's a scene dedicated entirely to The Rock telling corny jokes to a group of wealthy dowagers.
Well, see, I would have enjoyed if the movie itself was like an airplane style, just like the entire thing is like a not taking itself seriously, like farce.
No, it's like, played very straight. There's no meta aspect.
I would have enjoyed like a meta, like, intentionally shitty, like, Jungle Cruise movie.
Yeah, no, it's very, I mean, the thing is, like, I don't recommend anybody see it. It's not a great movie. But it's interesting, and it's worth talking about, because like you said with the Jungle Cruise ride, it has to contend with colonialism now. It has to contend with adjusting its previous assumptions. And so the movie makes it very clear that The Rock, the protagonist, is, he's a friend to the indigenous people in the Amazon.
Yeah.
But there's also a scene in the movie where a whole village of them just die in droves while protecting the European protagonists.
Oh, no.
And like, they're not... like the person who's cast as the leader of the indigenous people is a Mexican lady, like a white Mexican lady. So it's like,
not great, but yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, and also like the other thing that Disney did in advertising is our first out gay character, even though
they say that every month.
Yeah, even there was LeFou supposedly was out gay because he made goo eyes at a guy,
at a dude.
Beauty
then there was like that person from that fantasy Pixar movie that no one saw.
Yeah.
And then there was like
hidden gay character in Frozen. But in this one, there is like a scene where they're like, he's gay, folks. Don't you get? They say everything but I like to have sex with men. So Jack Whitehall plays the gay guy.
Disney was like, we're fucking tired of everyone saying, oh, that character we said is gay isn't outwardly gay enough. So now we're gonna have a character, he walks on the scene and say, hey boys, who wants their cock sucked? It's like
yummer
in a PG kids movie.
Blowjizz, just blowjizz, 10,000 blowjizz.
Yeah, and before anyone cancels me, reminder, I'm a gay trans woman, so I'm allowed to do as many offensive gay and trans stereotype jokes that I want.
I am a gay man. We're covered on the queer jokes.
Yeah.
But I pass for straight, so I don't get to do as much. That's a weird thing, having straight passing privilege, which is absolutely a thing. And something that I didn't want to acknowledge was a thing, because I kept wanting to like say the word faggot with total and reckless abandon.
Yeah.
And then I said it around the wrong person and I felt bad.
Didn't you just tell them, oh, I'm gay? You just fucking
it doesn't work. It doesn't work. That's
even better though, because then you can high road them to like, you can't say that. And then you go, I'm gay. Fuck you, straighty.
No, it was another gay person.
Ah, damn it.
Thought I was straight. That wouldn't have worked out like that.
Well, then you just bring up you can play you're Jewish, right? You can play the anti-Semitism
there
card.
You go. The Keir Starmer card, the Netanyahu card, the Eve Barlow card, the Eve Barlow
Exactly.
Oh, that's anti-Semitic. Just because
I've never actually heard her like talk. I've only ever seen like screenshots or pictures of her, and the fact that she's Scottish like blows my mind, because she's so solidly in my mind as like a like New York like lib type of a person.
Yeah, like can you believe what they're saying about Palestinians? Those Palestinian boys, they grow up.
Yeah,
they grow up okay.
The fact that she's Scottish blows my mind. Like I didn't even know there are Jewish people in any of the United Kingdom.
Yeah,
I thought they were banned.
That's how I reacted when I found out that Armando Iannucci was Scottish.
Who's Armando Iannucci?
The creator of The Thick of It and like In the Loop and Veep.
Oh really? Wait, he's Scottish?
Yeah, he's a Scottish.
I thought he was Italian or something.
No, well, he just hasn't. He is Italian. But not unlike his the guy that he casts in The Thick of It, Peter Capaldi. He is an Italian Scotsman, which is a very funny thing to be. Mamma mia! Get that in red sauce. I ate some good spaghetti.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, very funny things to be. So Jungle Cruise.
Is there a giant beam that shoots into the sky in the third act that they have to stop?
Is not a giant beam. It's very much trying to recapture the magic of Pirates of the Caribbean. But the problem with it is Pirates of the Caribbean is an exceedingly generic movie, and the only reason why it was popular is because Johnny Depp defied every executive and did his
weird Keith Richards thing. Yeah. Well, and I want to say, I mean, I feel like some credit should go to Gore Verbinski, because I feel like he's a decent director that knows how to do some fun action and stuff like that. So.
Oh yeah, I'm a Gore fan.
And then like I don't even know who Jungle Cruise is directed by.
It's directed by the Orphan guy.
The Orphan?
Yeah, remember Orphan?
The Orphanage?
No, not the Orphanage. Not
the Orphan. That movie with the little girl who turns out to be an old person who looks like a kid.
Yes,
what?
That is
directed by that person. Huh?
Directed by that person, and it's just, I'm sure what that means is that he's just directing a bunch of people in front of a green screen.
Green screen, yeah. That movie looked entirely green screen from the trailers. Not even real at all.
The problem with that's another thing. I don't mind everything looking fake as fuck. Because if
it's for an aesthetic, like I'm a huge fan of Speed Racer when I did a podcast episode on it.
Yes.
And I love that, which that movie is definitely all green screen, 100%, but it's for a reason. It's to look stylized and crazy and cartoony.
I think this movie almost gets there. One thing that I will say in its favor is that its color grading is really good. And it has a type of color grading that I'd like to see more in especially mainstream Disney or Marvel movies, which is it's really bright. And it has a really consistent color sheen of gold and green because they're in the jungle. And so that makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of those movies, Marvel and Disney, end up being very flat, desaturated, kind of grayish concrete look.
Yeah. And so that's sort of where I'm at, is just it was visually arresting just on the color grading alone, only in contrast to every other mainstream Disney property. I don't think that's enough to recommend it. But a lot of the CGI vistas that it manages to pull off look pretty good. I don't mind. Nice. Yeah, I don't mind CGI when it's used for like background work. Like there are great shots of like 19th century London, early 20th century London that are clearly all CGI, but it's very meticulous, very good looking. Cool. There's a lot of jungle shots a lot of jungle backgrounds that are very meticulous and good looking, in the same way that they're just modern versions of matte paintings. Like when you watch an old movie and you see like a really nice matte painting, you can.
Yeah, I hate people who paint all CGI as like bad, because like a lot of movies, like for instance, like all the CGI like Fincher uses, because his movies are laden with CGI in places you would never even know. Like obviously the big one, all the San Francisco stuff from Zodiac.
Yeah, his best CGI. Looking movie by far, I thought.
Yeah. So I love when CGI is used like basically like as modern equivalent of like matte paintings, or to create things that you couldn't practically create. But so I like when it's used for good purposeful reasons.
And I think, and when they bother to build a set, because there's like a brawl scene in like in a Brazilian bar, and the production design is like, the costuming especially is like, I want to know who the costume designer was of that movie, because they like knocked it out of the fucking park.
The costume designer was told, we want The Rock in the tightest clothes possible. I remember that from the trailer, being like, Jesus Christ, how can he move in those clothes? They look fucking skin tight.
He's wearing some beautiful vests.
Yeah, vests and collared shirt, tightly buttoned.
Yeah. And yeah, but so the movie, what I will say, it looks different from other Disney movies that are going on currently, which is, I don't know, not necessarily something to recommend it, but something that's interesting about it. And how it fumbles the ball with colonialism is also very funny. And so the other thrust of the movie is that the main female protagonist, Emily Blunt, is a girl boss, right? And she wears pants. And so The Rock is always commenting, just never seen a lady with pants before.
Yeah.
But she's headstrong, and she's not like the other girls.
Sure.
She's a pickpocket as well. She knows how to pick a lock. And the denouement is her finally being accepted into the Academy of Science, which was male only up to that point, and then rejecting it. Sure. Because she's a girl boss. But it still rings hollow because a bunch of indigenous people still were mowed down.
Murdered, Sure. Who are the antagonists?
There are 3 sets of antagonists.
Evil Jungle Cruise people.
There are an evil Jungle Cruise people. It's Jesse Plemons playing a World War I Nazi. You know how like I know it's exactly how they make World War I Germans Nazis, basically, like in Wonder Woman.
They
did it in Wonder Woman too. And so Jesse Plemons has a very inconsistent Bavarian accent.
Does he wear the pointy helmet?
He doesn't wear the pointy helmet, but he has a floppy Hitler haircut, which seems explicitly designed to look like Hitler. And Jesse Plemons is chewing the scenery. He's very funny.
He's great. I'm sure he does. He does a great job.
His German accent is bad. It's a very inconsistent German.
That sounds fun though.
Yeah, no,
I love a campy bad German.
Yeah. Jungle Cruise is something to hit up, when it comes out on Disney Plus in like 4 months or something.
Or I don't know, maybe I'll go to like the $5 like matinee that one of my local theaters does.
Yeah, just don't pay full price for it. Whatever you do. Sure. But yeah, I think I do like those. I do also think it's interesting because it's a big budget Disney movie that's not a Marvel movie. And what was the last one of those? Like, what was the last big budget Disney live action movie that was not a Marvel movie?
I'm sure it's another one of these, like either ride adaptation or live action remakes. Like, Mulan, I guess.
Oh, yeah. But those movies, they tank regularly. Or it's not. Yeah. But this is, when was the last, like, no, I guess you're right. It is all these remake things.
Well, the last like ride based one I'm trying to think of. I mean, there was like
the Country Bears. Oh yeah, you're right. Tomorrowland.
Weird Brad Bird's weird like Ayn Randian, libertarian thing.
Yeah, why does Brad Bird love Ayn Rand so much?
I don't know. He really does though.
Yeah. Well, that's what's fun about Incredibles 2, which is sort of a middling movie, but as everyone identifies, the villain in Incredibles 2 is pretty cool. Sort of signals the problem of what went wrong in the Obama era as well. So did you ever see Incredibles 2?
I do, and I remember the villain, but I guess I wasn't thinking critically enough about it. I don't remember exactly what happened.
So the villain is
the lady
slaver. Yeah.
It's the girl boss lady,
yes,
right?
The girl boss lady, whose brother is Bob Odenkirk, who got better.
Yes,
hell yeah.
Thank goodness.
Thank the Lord.
Bob Odenkirk. I loved how Bob Odenkirk's character in that movie legitimately is just like CGI Bob Odenkirk.
CGI, yeah.
It's just Pixar Bob Odenkirk. Yeah.
Just took all of his mannerisms.
Well, I mean, he's great because he already kind of looks kind of like he's already kind of like a very cartoony looking guy.
Yeah. All those Mr. Show guys all look like they came out of a cartoon.
Sure. But yeah, so it's the lady but like, what do you mean?
Her point is that she hates superheroes because people become dependent on superheroes and don't think for themselves. And the reason why their parents died is because their parents were too reliant on superheroes. Oh, but gotcha. That, to me, that is like the struggle and the realization of the Obama era, where Obama represents the superhero figure. And the idea is like, we can take a breather as the populace. We don't have to be in politics anymore. We can forget about it. We can offload all of our problems onto these super competent technocrats. Sure. And the end of that was Trump. That was like, it all leads back to Trump. So
yeah, I think Brad Bird, for all his Randian tendencies, he still makes very interesting movies thematically. They're not like as like kind of baseline, boring Randian stuff. Yeah. Like the Iron Giant and Incredibles are definitely still compelling and well made. They're good movies enough that I feel like it's, even if you're not into his Randian stuff, they're still worth watching.
Oh yeah. Well, Iron Giant is like, I mean, it still dovetails with the sort of a libertarian ethos when the Iron Giant is about defying the thing that everyone tells you that you're supposed to do. You are, I am not a gun. Oh, that's such a good movie. It saves everybody. Oh God.
And now the Iron Giant has been bastardized into, as you mentioned in one of your Kingdom Hearts episode, he's been the weird mascot for two different weird media centric properties.
Yeah, both Ready Player One and Space Jam: A New Legacy feature very prominent shots of the Iron Giant careening through a CGI smorgasbord of IP.
Yep.
I do want to see Space Jam. When I heard that Bugs Bunny fucking dies, I was like, okay.
Wait, I haven't heard that.
Sorry.
All I saw from it is that one clip that was just like the whiplash of IP, where it was like they go from like they're in like Mad Max world and they get like Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote who are in Mad Max world, and then they're in like Casablanca all of a sudden, and it's like Yosemite Sam is the Black Sam playing piano, and then they're in like Austin Powers, and like Tweety and Sylvester are in Austin Powers or something,
and then Rick and Morty,
show up. Like, what the fuck?
We love references. Humans love references, but that's the thing is people inherently recognize that. I mean, part of the reason why The Simpsons were popular and they ushered in modern age of humor was because the humor was so reference heavy. They would just do straight up film parodies and that would be the joke.
Yeah.
Because I think there's something, especially in, our postmodern brains. Have you gotten to the Darmok episode of TNG yet?
No, you mentioned it on that episode, right?
Yeah,
On your podcast.
Darmok.
I'm looking forward to it because you mentioned it. I haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah, but it definitely is very prescient in that it's about an alien species that communicates entirely in idioms, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where we're very much moving. We use references as the shorthand for these vast concepts that take up spots in our brain. And when you click on the little trigger word that implements the reference, this whole blooming effective dopamine happens in your brain.
Oh yeah,
you're suddenly reminded of that world.
I mean, I'm not immune to it. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, not at all.
I'll save something for after the podcast that I want to ask you about, because I don't know if you want to talk about it on here.
Oh no, go ahead. Is this about Arthur?
Yeah, it's Arthur based.
Okay, so this will be if you're this deep into the podcast.
Well, we can encourage people to go listen to my podcast by not telling them the reference point.
Well, we will encourage people listen to the episode of Explaining to Austin that I am on. It's
on Old. M. Night Shyamalan's Old, and it has Alex of Jack Dump of House of Decline in the title. So go watch that to find out a secret fun fact about how Alex is connected to not only Arthur but Steven Crowder.
Yes, it's because I'm Canadian. No, it's more interesting than that.
But okay, but on Arthur, like obviously Arthur has done the ending now apparently. You're no fault of our own.
It's our fault.
They've done a lot of parodies in it, and I know as a kid I enjoyed those parodies. Recent one, recent Arthur, I don't know if you've seen, they did a recent episode in like the last like 5 to 10 years that was like 2001: A Space Odyssey, like HAL reference.
Oh, that's pretty
the classroom
for kids.
The classroom gets a smart board that's called like PAL or something like that, where it's like, and it's like a direct HAL reference where it's like basically they become too like reliant on the smart board to the point where it's like it has false info, like somehow like the facts installed in it, one of them is false, and like basically they end up like having to realize like, oh, we need to do the learning on our own and not just be reliant on this one thing, and it ends in like the board like malfunctioning and singing Daisy and breaking down.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean that's like but that's the thing is, like, to a kid, they're just going to see a great story. They've never seen that before. And when they come to 2001: A Space Odyssey later, I mean, that's how it worked with me in The Simpsons. That's the reason why I saw Clockwork Orange at age 8 with my grandma. Sure. Because they kept showing Simpsons references to Clockwork Orange. Oh, Bart keeps getting droplets in his eyes,
Wait, you saw Clockwork Orange with your grandma?
Yeah, at age 8.
Oh, Jesus
that was
Christ.
Like, I didn't know what was happening. She rented it from the video store. She didn't know what it was.
There was a graphic rape scene.
Yeah, but I didn't know what was happening. I just thought they were wrestling, so I wasn't traumatized.
Him running around with a giant penis statue
that was very funny to me at age 8.
Penis.
And well, the death isn't very graphic either.
No, it's very it's very it's not, there's no blood or anything.
And it's weird because The Simpsons had prepared me for it with parody. Like it was less shocking to me than it should have been probably. So that's another fun fact about me.
Arthur had that really interesting oh boy, I'm dying. Had that interesting episode where it has like multiple cartoon parodies where they parody like South Park and Beavis and Butthead and a couple other things that I can't remember.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
But it's like when you're a kid, especially, and you get references to something else. That shit is mind-blowing. Yeah, you feel smart as hell.
Sure.
Well, because it is like, with that humor, it is a large assumption. In order to get the joke, you're assuming this person has already seen this other piece of pop culture and internalized what is funny about it. So it is in sort of, whenever there's a classic scene in a comedy when two people, something extreme has happened and two people look at each other from across the room with a look of silent understanding. Yeah. And there's that Dave Chappelle joke where it's like the plane was hijacked and I looked at another black guy and we looked at each other in solidarity because we know that they don't take black hostages. And so, I always think that sort of the silent understanding is always something that's very funny and joyful. Sure. And so using references is a very easy way to do that to people, which is why you become over reliant on them.
Sure.
And so, yeah, now we've turned into this orgiastic IP nonsense where, the Iron Giant is having sex with the Minions or something like that.
Yeah.
Minions are Universal Entertainment, though. Wait, no, I have no idea.
Gotta love the Minions.
They're old now. They're old news now. Nobody's talking about
they're
Minions
old news.
no more.
I don't know what new news is, but it's not the Minions.
Yeah.
It's the Trolls from Trolls and Trolls 2 World Tour.
Ooh, those are really fucking popular. Like I think you're accurate about that. I think that is the current kids franchise which has dominated.
It's just pop stars voicing cartoons, singing pop songs.
They love it. That was the Glee formula, and it worked out for Glee.
I hate the voice actors getting shafted to have popular actors voice characters. Like, I know recently that apparently there was some big controversy where like someone who's like voiced Lola Bunny in a lot of things in the last like 20 years voiced her in Space Jam and did all this work, and then like after she'd done all this work it was all thrown out to bring in Zendaya to voice it,
and to have like 4 lines of dialogue.
And she didn't even get like credit in the final movie or anything.
That's really a shame. Well, because I mean, we know why it happens. It doesn't
of course
it should happen.
Yeah.
But there used to be a golden age of film voice acting when, your Billy Wests and your Jess Harnells and your Tress MacNeils would get top billing in an animated movie.
Yeah.
And that has gone away. It's always very funny to me that Jerry Orbach was the voice of Lumiere.
He was?
Yeah, Jerry Orbach.
Wow. I don't think I ever realized that.
Yeah, it's just a weird fact.
Huh.
Yeah. So we're coming at the end of our usual 90 minutes. Do you have any parting? Thank you so much for being on the show today, Peyton.
Oh, it's fun.
You being here.
As someone with a very like structured show where we have like a goal of like what to accomplish and talk about in the episode, it was very fun just to have a fun, tangential to tangent riff. But no, I don't particularly. I mean, I can do my plugs and stuff, but in terms of actual topics, I don't have anything.
All right, do your plugs then. What are you plugging?
Well, just Twitter is go to my Twitter, because from there you can find everything else. My Twitter is at Peyton Brock, so just Peyton but without the N, and then Brock, and that's Peyton with an E, PeytonBrock. And from there, of course, you can find my podcast that's on all the main podcast places. It's called Explaining to Austin. And in the show, basically me explaining to my friend Austin, I watch movies or shows or whatever, and then I explain it to him who hasn't seen whatever I've watched. And we do riffs and fun other stuff as well. But yeah, so that's fun.
I really like the Captain EO episode. That's a very funny episode.
That's a fun one with a lot of fun backstory on that fun experience, fun short film. Let's see what else. If you go to my Twitter, you can go to my like Linktree link that's there, and like there I have like links to everything. Like I've dabbled with music in the past, so I have a Bandcamp or whatever. One of the things I've been doing recently, I've been doing some freelance writing for Collider. I've been doing some like movie analysis and reviews. So
yeah, I saw you had an article on Slumber Party Massacre.
Yeah, so I did. I just had one of that released last week on Slumber Party Massacre, and how it's kind of right at the height of the slasher genre in the 80s was already kind of subverting the tropes for, through a feminist lens. I'll have an article coming out this coming week on the film from 2015, Demon, the Polish film Demon, and how it basically uses a possession to commentate on like Poland's like kind of national denial of guilt in terms of the Holocaust, which it's a really interesting film. So check out those articles. You can read my articles without having seen the films, because they're kind of geared towards almost like encouraging people to watch the movies. So check those out if you like those kind of things. Follow me on Twitter and find all my links for the podcast and other stuff there.
Oh, hell yeah. Thank you for being today. Stephen had prepared some questions, but the conversation was flowing so well that I didn't get to any of them.
Oh, shit.
So
sorry.
No, that was my fault. That's my fault as a producer. I'll apologize to Stephen later. But thank you so much for being on the show, Peyton. Listen to Explaining to Austin. Read all of her stuff. It's great. And have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.